Hello, my name is Kelly, and in this screencast I will be using an Excel spreadsheet that already has some information typed into it. I am going to use it to demonstrate how to use formulas, order of operations, and simple functions. As you can see, I have a spreadsheet up that will let us do Fahrenheit to Celsius conversions for temperature. There is already a formula provided for converting Fahrenheit to Celsius. Therefore, all we have to enter this formula into the appropriate location in the spreadsheet so that Excel can make the calculations. In all cases, when typing a formula or function into Excel, you must first put an equal sign. By putting an equal sign, this lets Excel know that what follows is a formula and that it should use it for calculation. So I'm going to highlight the cell where the formula should be to calculate the Celsius temperature. You start with an equals and then you type in the formula as shown above, except by substituting the cell that contains the Fahrenheit temperature in place of the F. So I start with an equals, then click on the cell address of the Fahrenheit temperature, which automatically puts the cell address in the formula, A4, then minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. After pressing enter, the result of Excel applying the formula shows up in the cell instead of the long formula. Something went wrong here. 32 degrees Fahrenheit is supposed to be 0 degrees Celsius. I believe I must have forgotten something in the formula. I forgot to put a parentheses in around the Fahrenheit degree and the 32. Parentheses are necessary because we need the formula to calculate the subtraction before the multiplication and the division. Always remember that if you don't have the correct order of operations, the calculation you are trying to make could turn out wrong. When we press enter this time, notice that the conversion is correct. The formula gave 0 degrees Celsius as the answer. Next, you move on to the next cell down. However, instead of typing the formula every time, I would like to introduce you to the fill handle. Notice when you click on a cell, there is a dot in the lower right corner of the selected cell. You're able to click this dot and drag a box down to the final cell you want to make calculations in. This fills the content of the cell with the same formula that was in the original cell. Notice that for the first cell, it has the cell address A4 in the formula, and in the second cell, it has A5, the third A6. The reason A4 changes to A5 and to A6 is because we have used a relative cell address. That means that the number in the cell address changed relative to the row we are on when we filled the formula containing that cell address. For more information about relative and other types of cell addresses, check out Dawn's screencast on that topic. The fill handle is very neat because it saves a lot of time and it is very easy to use. Next, I am going to show you a spreadsheet designed to calculate averages, minimums, and maximums. As you can see, here's a spreadsheet keeping track of students' grades on tests. The goal is to get a test average for each student as well as a class average for each test. Another interesting thing here is how to generate the class high and the class low on each test. For starters, to generate the test average of a student, you may use an Excel predefined formula, which is called a function. Each time you enter a formula, you must put an equals. So we start with equals, and then this formula will use the function average. In this case, you would select the cell where the average will be generated and write equals average, open parentheses. Then, using the mouse, click and drag the box over the cells you want to select the class average. So we want to do Billy's test averages. We would select the numbers from test 1 to test 4, which is cells B2 to E2. And then press enter to calculate the average. A shortcut way to do this would be to locate the Formulas tab in the ribbon at the top of the screen. Notice that there are options you can choose from as it relates to formulas. Notice in the function library group, there is an icon that says AutoSum and an arrow down. Click on the down arrow of the AutoSum and select and see that it says average. What this does is it automatically places the equals average in the cell, and all you have to do is select the cells that will determine the average. So to calculate Samantha's average, you will select B3 to E3 and then press enter. You may also use the fill handle as we did before on this, and it will copy the average formula down for the remaining students and calculate the students' test averages for you. Once again, notice that the cell address changed from row B3 to E3 to the cell row B4 to E4 and then B5 to E5. To generate the class average of a test, you would use the same principle. I'm going to use the average function again, but this time I'm going to select all the students' grades on test 1 for the average. This means that Excel has added up all the students' grades in the class and divided that sum by how many students there are in the class. Hence, I have just calculated the test average for the class on the first test. In order to calculate the class average for the other columns, use the fill handle to highlight those 3 cells to the right. Again, cells content across that row changed to be appropriate for the column. Notice in column C it changed to C2 to C18, and in column D it changed to D2 to D18. The class height can be determined by using the Excel-defined function equals max, open parentheses, into the cell where you want to show the maximum test grade in the class. This formula displays the highest grade out of all those selected. So I'm going to put equals max, open parentheses, then select all the students' grades on test 1 and press enter. Again, if you want a shortcut, go to the ribbon and use the Formulas tab to select AutoSum. The down arrow has a function that says max. First, make sure the cell you're going to place it in is highlighted, and then select max and the cells that you want Excel to generate the maximum from. To fill the remaining cells with the class maximum, again use the fill handle and Excel will automatically fill them in for you. The same as for class low. There is a shortcut key for minimum under AutoSum. Select that, then highlight the cells of all the students' grades from test 1 and press enter. From this you have generated the lowest grade in the class on test number 1. Now I will use the fill handle again to fill the other cells on the row with the minimum test grades. Now the spreadsheet is complete with student test averages, class test averages, class maximums, and class minimums. So to review all that I have went over in this screencast, remember that a formula is something used to calculate certain values. It can include numbers, cell addresses, order of operations, and possibly a function to generate a calculation. A function is something that is predefined by itself that already knows how to calculate a certain answer. So, for example, to calculate average, Excel already knows that the formula to calculate average is the sum of all the numbers divided by how many numbers there are. The autofill handle is especially important because it fills the contents of the cell with the same formula that was in the original cell. This can save a lot of time because you don't have to individually write the formula or function in the other cells because Excel does it for you. I hope this screencast gave you a better understanding of how to use formulas and functions in Excel. Thank you for watching.